and matter is what we call a continuum. All of them have to come into existence at the same instant. Because if there were matter but no space, where would you put it? If there were matter and space but no time, when would you put it? You cannot have time, space, or matter independently. They have to come into existence simultaneously. The Bible answers that in 10 words. In the beginning, there's time. God created the heaven, there's space, and the earth, there's matter. So you have time, space, matter, created a trinity of trinities there. Just, time is past, present, future. Space has length, width, height. Matter has solid, liquid, gas. You have a trinity of trinities created instantaneously. And the God who created them has to be outside of them. If He's limited by time, He's not God. The guy who created this computer is not in the computer. He's not running around in there changing the numbers on the screen, okay? The God who created this universe is outside of the universe. He's above it, beyond it, in it, through it. He's unaffected by it. So the concept that a spiritual force cannot have any effect on a material body, well then I guess you'd have to explain to me things like emotions and love and hatred and envy and jealousy and rationality. I mean, if your brain is just a random collection of chemicals that form by chance over billions of years, how on earth can you trust your own reasoning processes and the thoughts that you think? Okay? So, your question, where did God come from, is assuming a limited God. And that's your problem. The God that I worship is not limited by time, space, or matter. If I could fit the infinite God in my 3-pound brain, He would not be worth worshiping, that's for certain. So that's the God that I worship. Thank you.
Dr. Hovind, would you like to...
for that?
Would you please present a question to the other side?
I was curious about the previous presentation. He said he trusted National Geographic. Just to give you one example, okay? The Bible teaches clearly that the birds were made on the 5th day, and the reptiles were made on the 6th day. Okay? Evolution teaches exactly the opposite. Reptiles first and then birds. The Bible says birds first, then reptiles. Actually, everything about the evolution theory is backwards to what the Bible teaches. Somebody's clearly wrong on this. This guy says dinosaurs are alive as birds, scientist says. Okay? Well, this is absurd, obviously. Nobody's ever seen any animal produce a different kind of animal. They can believe that if they want. Here's a USA Today. Missing link discovered, October 1999. National Geographic, one that he trusts. Missing link, breaking news, folks. We have found National Geographic, November 1999, the missing link. A few months later, oops, it was a mistake. Some Chinese guy had taken a couple of fossils and glued them together and fooled everybody. National Geographic paid, I think, $80,000 for that fossil. It was incredible, the amount of money they paid for that. And there's all kinds of it. I could show you over and over where National Geographic is not trustworthy. The entire argument that I heard a few minutes ago was majority opinion supports evolution. Okay, first place, I don't think that's true. Okay, how many of you in here tonight at a secular university do not believe the evolution theory that they present? Okay, how many do believe the evolution theory that they present? Okay, we could take a count here. I suspect that was majority for the creation side. We can count if you like, but I know this. About 9% of the population in Gallup polls and surveys taken says they believe in atheistic evolution, no God is involved. 90% say yes, there was a God involved, and 50% of the entire population says God did it in the last 10,000 years. So if you're using majority opinion as your argument, I think that's obviously, historically, you can prove that's pretty easy to prove wrong. Majority opinion proves nothing. Majority's often been wrong. So all of the experts on birds are saying the dinosaurs could not possibly have turned to birds. There are just millions and millions of differences. So I guess I'd be curious, with all the evidence that we've gathered over the years, why you would think a dinosaur turned into a bird. When dinosaurs, reptiles produce reptiles, birds produce birds. I mean, there's no evidence of this. So my question, why do you think dinosaurs turned to birds if you think that?
Evolution is a process where all kinds of DNA and all kinds of animals are making changes. Some of that changes in DNA are going to turn out to be pretty good. Some of them aren't. If we take a look at an example from your research saying that, how about Noah's Ark having one kind of animal that evolved into dogs, foxes, and wolves. In 6,000 years? Not possible at all. couldn't even begin to happen in 6,000 years. Noah's Ark, one kind of horse developing into a zebra and a donkey, not possible. No, there's no way DNA can change that fast. What evolutionists are saying is the process of DNA changing takes a long time. You see, the creationists want it both ways. They want to make fun of evolution and saying, well, why does that thing want to do that? Well, it doesn't want to do it. DNA is changing randomly. But at the same time, they want to say that you can have all kinds of animals evolved in 6,000 years just hopped off of a ship someplace that Noah's running. It's impossible. There's absolutely no way that amount of DNA could change in 6,000 years. The only way you can solve that is by saying the usual way. It must have been a miracle. Well, in science, we don't talk about miracles. We talk about evidence. And that's what's important to us. And I kind of resent Dr. Hovind telling us this is what we believe and this is what I predict. My prediction is that evolution has been going on for a long time and it will continue to go on, and it will go on in the same way it's always developed. DNA will change bit by bit, little by little, and plants and animals will change. I have a couple of Creationist magazines at home that told me in the Creationist magazine that the reason that we have thorns on blackberries and roses and the reason we have a toothache is because Adam and Eve fell from grace when they sinned. I have a hard time accepting that as scientific evidence. I would rather use as my scientific evidence tracing the origin of thorns and the origins of teeth back to their beginning, rather than relying on the fact that Adam and Eve sinned and that brought a disaster into the world. I'm done.
Professors, would you like to formulate a question or another statement? You do have 2 minutes.
Do we have more time? Do we have more time?
You will after 5 minutes.
How many?
After Mr. Hovind goes.
I didn't hear a word he said.
We can understand you.
I'm sorry. You'll have 5 more minutes after Mr. Hovind has his 5 minutes.
So what were the 2 minutes that you said that we had time right now?
On the board, 1 minute and 47 seconds.
And we just talked about it.
And who has that time right now?
You do. Any three
one
of you.
of us?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Just trying to get the image straight.
Thank you.
I do wonder about my earlier question. I don't feel comfortable about its being answered. That is, you keep insisting that the God of the Bible in some way is responsible for all this. You may, even if you were to prove that there's some kind of spiritual force, it is not necessarily the God of the Bible. So you're taking a giant leap there. So I think there's a lot of that has to do with lots of faith that has to be developed in there. And I see that from our group here. And I think Mark Twain said about faith that faith is believing something you know ain't true. I don't think you can rely on faith. I think you need to, if you want to be honest, intellectually honest, you've got to come up with something a little bit more solid than just to buy in to the fact that 80% of U.S. Americans are God believers and only 14% are not. So I don't know. Is that? Can you answer that? Or
absolutely.
All right, that'd be nice.
Sure.
What was the question? Phrase the question again, please. You didn't really get. You made a statement. I didn't hear a question there. What do you want to hear? Okay, my original question was for you to show where the deity comes from. And you keep insisting that it is the God of the Bible. But that is another leap of faith that seems to be part of that. Can you sort of trot that out a little bit more? And let me say one thing also about the story that you gave about the National Geographic, or was it the Scientific American, with the the bird and dinosaur thing. It shows that the scientific community is working. These people are in dialogue. Error may occur where reason is left free to correct it. And in your system, it's nailed down by the Bible, and no, I cannot challenge that. With the invention of all kinds of strange beings, I just looked, this is very much news to me. I looked at one of the books that Jim has here, where the assertion is that evolution is inspired by Satan. And what now? We have
Thank
God,
you, sir.
we have
We're going to have to
Satan,
cut you off, and you can be back in 5 minutes.
Carry on. I guess I'm still a little baffled what the question was. If